Welcome to another podcast episode of So You Woke Up. And I am here with Nspyr, and she is going to tell us her way of how she woke up. This is just going to be another one of those conversations, those raw ones, where we just talk about what it's like to live outside of the matrix, what kind of things, happen and do with that. And so we're going to start with her story. So I want to know, what was it for you that you were like, oh goodness, this is not real. This is not what I want to do. I have to do something different. Any of those things. I want to know what happened to you.
It's so funny that one of the things you said is this is not real, because I'm like me and my story. So I've actually never related to being in the Matrix. My whole life has been unconventional. I have always followed my inner compass. I have always followed how I felt. So when you say like this is not real, as a child, even like elementary, going into middle school, that was one of the big thoughts that would come to my mind is this is not real. Literally,
What is this?
this experience is not real. And as I grew older, I really understood it as derealization, really just seeing the world as not real and how everything seems fake. So that was one of the biggest things that I really had to move through while even going through my teen years and high school. Because to me, when I'm going through these times and I would ask like, this is not real, the way I would reflect on it is like, just the schedule, the matrix, literally the 9 to 5, the waking up, doing this, going to sleep, doing the same thing the next day. And I'm like, this is not real. And I just had
I love
so
it.
many other questions because I was like, ain't no way everyone is waking up every day, literally just like, oh, this is what we're doing today, and then going to sleep, and then just restarting. And I'm like, is no one having the thoughts I'm having? Is no one feeling
Mm,
what I'm feeling? Just in the sense of there's more, just in the sense of like, this, who said this is life? Who called this life? Literally.
yeah.
And so for me, as a child, I've always just followed what makes me feel good, truly, just in the sense of so many ways in how I want to express myself. Even growing up, like graduating from high school, as soon as I graduated, as soon as I turned 18, I was getting tattoos, everything, because that was just for me, my
Yeah.
expression. Everyone, when I was graduating, they were like, "You're not gonna get a job. Like, how do you expect to get a career and this and that?" And I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
the fact that you guys think I'm gonna be an employee for the rest of my life is crazy. And
Right?
that was my mindset at 18. I
Yeah.
was like, whatever I'm gonna do it with these tattoos. Like
Yeah.
nothing was limiting me, nothing could stop me in so many ways. And for me, I feel like I was one of those people who were really born in the shadows, who were born
Yeah.
to do shadow work before they even understood what shadow work was. So my whole life
Yeah.
has been the path of remembrance before I even knew that I was remembering this whole time. From a
Yes.
child, I've just always been following what feels right, what feels true to me, and not the truth that everyone else put on me, but the truth
That,
that was in my body, that was in my bones, that was in my,
yeah.
you know? And ever since I've kept following that truth, it was just pushing me away from everything that was false, everything that felt heavy, everything that felt disconnected. And so from a young age, I understood that I know what feels good and I can go where it feels good. I can create what feels good. And where it doesn't feel good, I don't want to be there. I don't want to be in that energy. I don't want to resonate with it. I don't want to identify with it. And so as a young girl, I really was alchemizing so much of the energies that I was in.
Yeah.
I was alchemizing pain that wasn't even mine.
Yeah.
I didn't even know. And so
Yeah.
this is where, to me, I'm just going through life. I'm just feeling it all. So I'm feeling the heaviness. And and it's so funny because when people talk to me now about like dark nights of the soul and this and that, and um, it's crazy because before I even knew what a dark night of the soul was, and like people talk about just that real like burning sensation, in your body, just the growing pains, everything that you feel just right before you rise, like the phoenix for real. Um,
For real.
all of that. And so when in high school and stuff, when I used to talk to people about feeling things, um that's where some of them will talk about that feeling. They would talk about like, I don't like that burning in my chest. Like, I don't like how that heaviness and this. And to me, I was like, what? I love it. I was like, because
It means
tomorrow,
I'm alive.
yes. And I was like, tomorrow, I'm going to be a whole new person. So as soon as I felt each dark night of the soul, I was looking forward to the next day because I was just like, oh, this is level up, truly. Um, and so the path of remembrance has always been my journey. There's two prominent moments that really made me be like, oh, I need to do things differently. And so
Okay, yes.
the two prominent moments that made me be like, I need to do something differently. Excuse me. Sorry, I'm like my nose is itchy.
Oh, no, you're good.
So the two prominent moments was what first in 2016. So in 2016, I was 22 years old. A little backstory, because I was a child that really was walking in the shadows and doing the shadow work. I was very in the shadows, in the
Oh, yeah.
darkness. Okay. And so when I was in that darkness, and then in 2011 I came across the book The Art of War by Sun Tzu. When I read that book, that made me identify with the light. That made me get out of the dark. Because that was my mind. Like,
Yeah.
when I read The Art of War, I was like, this is me. Like, this is how I think. This is how I perceive things. And that, from a young age, I was reading energy patterns. I would see how people would act like they're strong when they're really weak, how they would act
Mhm.
like they want to attack when they're really not going to? And so when I read that book, it really just, and I was like, dude, I knew I wasn't crazy. Like, I knew this was a
I
mind
love
game.
books. Yeah.
Literally, I was like, this is not a mind game. So, in 2011, when I read that book, that's when I got introduced to just reading on my own and also meditation. And so, in 2016, when I was 22, that's when I told myself I need to add meditation to my routine. So that
Yeah,
was,
it was just loud.
yeah.
Yeah, do
So
that.
that was one of the big differences that I needed to make. And so in 2016, when I decided I need to add meditation to my routine, for me, that was becoming present. That was practicing
Ooh.
stillness. That was practicing mindfulness. That was practicing connecting to my senses, being fully here, deep listen.
Yeah.
So from 2016, these are all the little practices that I'm doing because I know that this is the change I need to make in the sense of sharpen who I am.
Because it seems like you had all like, you knew this, but it was like
I just
it's like
didn't
you
have
could have a
the tools.
skill. The tools.
I
The
didn't have the words.
tools.
I didn't have
Mhm.
the guidance. I didn't have the teacher in front of me saying, oh, this. So my whole life has been an unfolding. And
Mm.
so for me, this is why I get excited because I'm like, what's next? Like, I know I'm going to find what I need all the time. So that
Yeah.
has what's been able for me to live unconventionally, for me to trust what people call the invisible. I swear people say, like, oh, the invisible or the not seen. I'm like, I see these things. I'm like, you don't see it. I see it.
I see it too.
So that's why I'm like, I don't know how they're unseen if we see it,
Mhm.
they're not in the form that we know it to be.
Yeah,
But we
and
see it.
that's the block the veil. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that so 2016 was when I was literally just sharpening my mind in all those things. And I really just needed the stillness and I needed the meditation. And when I got introduced to meditation and understanding stillness, that was like second nature to me. That
Yeah.
was like, this is what I need in this loud ass world. And for people, it's hard to get still. For people, it's hard to get quiet. For me, that's
Mm.
the exact thing my soul needed. So
I
this is
think a
why,
lot of people need it.
yeah, and a lot of people need it, but they can't receive it, and
Yeah.
or it's hard to really just break the uncomfortability. But my whole life, the uncomfortability has been my comfort zone. So
Yep.
that's where I'm just like, going with the flows. And so in 2021, in 2016, sharpening my mind and doing all that. Um, in 2021 was the second time I was like, oh, I need to do something different. And so in 2021, I was pretty much ending a chapter of my life. I actually lived in North Carolina at the time. And um I had a business out there. I was in a relationship and we were business partners. And so in 2021, it was funny because I had what people would say everything. I had a great relationship. I had a house. I had a puppy. I had a business.
American dream.
Literally,
Hmm.
literally, and
Or the dream. Yeah.
the
If you're
dream
not American.
that everyone
Yeah.
would love. And so as soon as I had all that, then like 2 years later, really settling into everything. So 2021 was the second year of really settling into having a business and all that stuff. And as soon as I was settled into everything, my motivation just dissipated.
Hmm.
My everything dissipated, and I was like, where did everything go? Like where did the motivation go? Where did like just my strive, everything? Um and so that's when I felt like I just felt the disconnect. Um
Yeah.
and then it's so funny because when I felt that disconnect, this was maybe like early 2021, and I was sharing with my partner at the time. I was like, oh, this meditation that I'm doing, like these spiritual things that I do in my routine, I'm like, it's about to be bigger. It needs to be bigger. I'm like, I can feel it.
I can feel it.
Yeah. And as soon as I told him that and I said it out loud, a month later, everything went 180.
Yeah.
Life came crumbling down and I had the decision to either literally stay there or follow what I was feeling. And as
Ooh.
soon as that day came, and it was out of the blue, literally like overnight. And the next morning, as soon as I just seen that everything changed and what my decision was, I was like, "Oh, I gotta get out of here." Just
Yeah.
because the
Like,
disconnect and how the fact that I even said this has to be bigger. And so that was my surrender to source saying, "Take me where you need me."
mm,
And everyone who knew me at that time in 2021 knew that I didn't want to come back to Cali. Didn't want to
yeah.
come back
Oh
to
yeah.
Fresno. What does Fresno have for me?
Yeah.
But Fresno had,
Grid work.
yeah, no, truly,
You are
truly.
the grid.
Yes, the field. And I understand that now, for real.
And I'm gonna know that too because you stepped back and I woke up.
Mm-hmm. No,
I met you.
and that's why at those times, even when I met you, even us at the park, like those were powerful times for me because it was the time that I felt before I even knew what it was.
It was like the confirmation of something that you couldn't see yet, you couldn't do
Literally.
yet. Yeah, and those are the moments that I think people on this journey too are like, these are the ones that this is happening to me too, being here in Colorado. And for you, it was like you had this dream. You had this thing where it was like you had the money, you had the person, you had the dog, all this, where it's like, and you could have sat there and been like, this could be it. And everything in you was like, no,
Yeah.
like, no, and I think that's that decision and us just in here right now, like me, like I could have been comfortable back at home. I had an apartment, me and Edward were chilling, and it was like, get in an RV. I said, "You want me to get in an RV? What in the that,
That was me. I was
like
like,
the
can I
RV
take
was
friends though?
like Fresno was like my RV. I was like, "What do you mean?" And I was like, and now sitting here talking to you here like a couple years later, I'm sitting here going, "Oh,
Mm,
oh."
it's so great.
And I don't we didn't even meet until about 2 years ago. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it was like but I started really doing things in 2021 when you had come back, like when you
Yeah, and so that's what was actually great because I want to say we met in like 2023. And so that was what was so powerful for me because when I came back in 2021 and I understood that this is just where I need to be, I surrendered. I moved through that feeling of like, fine, I'm here. Like, let me do what you called me to do and let me be
Mhm.
happy doing it truly. Like, let me
Yeah.
resent, let me not act like I'm happy, but hate it at the same time. Like,
Yeah,
no.
let me be content
Yeah.
with gratefulness.
And accept what is, because what is always right.
And just because, yeah, we don't understand doesn't mean, and it's sometimes too, if you think about human condition, human emotions, that too, it's like, we feel these things because that's where the human condition is. So it's like for you surrendering with that, it's like, I know that everything's not rainbows and butterflies, but I do know that I can have grief and joy at the same time and
This is
still
where
live.
shorts literally proves to me time and time again how small our mind really is. Like
Oh
how
yeah.
much possibilities is really out there and how much like source really does connect you and supports you.
Hmm.
It's to really just make the decision. Like
Yeah. And I get it. I mean, I get it. Like I've been just as awake of you as you, and I did not choose to flow like you did as well. I choose a bipolar prison. But like I mean like, but I always was aware, and it was like once I started doing it like fear, but doing it
yeah.
anyway, everything changed. Everything. Yeah,
Mhm.
and like you didn't know why you were supposed to be there. But
No.
then you and me crashed together in this town that I lived for 40 years, 41
Mhm.
years at that time. Like I never left. You left. Like I never
Mhm.
left. But I was supposed to step into this thing I'm doing now. And by you, and it was so weird too, because it was like we are talking about before this, is like you triggered me, but not in a way where I was like, I want to punch her in the face. It was more like, what is this? I recognize this. And so you know, part of I think what you knew was that you knew you were supposed to be this catalyst, and to embody that you had to be your true self, which is can be unsettling to some, but intriguing at the same time. And so when I remember that too, because you were like, I don't really, do this, but I want you, and was Edward, who was Larry at the time, but Edward, let's go sit at the park. And you and me, and it was supposed to be like we were there for like 3 hours and
That
we
was such
just
a nice day.
vibe. Yeah, and it would just vibed, and it was like I remember you telling me that you're like you told me the story about how you came here and you didn't know why. And you're
Mhm.
like, this is one of the reasons. And I was like, oh, and it was just coming full circle
Mhm.
to that of when you stop fighting your
The
purpose, I
resistance.
guess, the resistance. It makes sense, but it's not beneficial. So,
Yeah. No, truly.
yeah. How do
But
you feel
that's what
now?
oh, amazing. Um, Amazing. There's I feel like I feel everything. I mean I've always felt everything, but that's what I'm saying. It's really crazy how much more we can feel all the time. But even with the 2021 and coming back and really and meeting you guys and all that stuff, that's what really was a testament to everything. Because when I came back in 2021 and I surrendered and I just decided to do the inner work and do the shadow work that I needed to at that time to really integrate me being back. Um, in the midst of me doing that, within that year, that's when Demi and I and the girls started the chakra classes. And they
Mhm.
actually planned that together and just needed someone who did meditation. And Demi recommended me. So, this is where I'm
Huh.
saying all the work that I did with the chakra classes, with doing Jesse's full moon vibes and meeting you guys, and all that stuff. I didn't ask for any of it.
Yeah.
It just aligned. It just aligned. So even when I did the first root chakra class,
Yeah.
people didn't understand these were profound moments for me in the sense of like my whole life has been preparation before I even knew it. And so it's
Yeah.
crazy how when you really like think you want something, like you want a job or you want this, so you're like, oh, I want to try get this, I want to try get this. And then when I entered being a teacher and being a guide here, I was like, oh, this is just what I'm here to do. And
Yeah.
it's a big shift. And it's a different experience when you're truly in your purpose rather than wanting to do things and you're just like, "Oh, I just get to be." Like,
Yeah.
you know?
And then that's I just posted a reel today about like with a river flowing, and it was like when you let your emotions flow, or you feel them and you flow them, then they go through, like they go through you. And so many people deal with the stuck emotions, and I know you know that as a healer you can see them in their bodies. I see them in their bodies too and stuff like that. And that's because people, we've been taught to not let the emotions flow, right? So the teachings, especially if you're not as awake from the beginning. And I feel like we all choose these things. So you chose to come here very knowing, but like forgetting, but also knowing. Um, I think for that, when we have all this conditioning and this stuff like that, coming around to actually letting things flow is is like it's super hard. It's the resistance, and it's like, instead of, letting yourself in a river and letting yourself like flow down till you can like get to the side of a bank. You're trying to swim upstream at this one part, which you actually can't get anywhere. When maybe if you just let go and flow and it goes down, and you can get, like, all of a sudden this little bank shows up on the side of the river that you can get, but you would have never seen that bank because you're still swimming upstream up here for the rest of your life. Like,
True.
you know, I mean, and there is structure is very needed, especially we're in the this is a 3D planet, but it's very
Mhm.
needed. But it's like you can have the, that's why we have boundaries and that's why we have things, but letting it flow and trust really does get you to where you're going. And it was like for you, like, I don't want it. This is, you could have resisted. You could have been swimming in North Carolina with a dog that may have
Yeah.
just passed away 2 days later. Any of these things, like these things, but you're like, no, and here you are, and you are thriving in a place where you thought would probably shrink you, and it didn't. And,
Yes, I
you
do want to
know,
share a part that wasn't so aligned.
yeah,
Because I feel like that is what so many people can resonate with. I feel like
I
some
love
are
that.
like waking up and in alignment, but there was a point in my life too where I was really out of alignment. And that is why today, even when I came back to Cali and got back into alignment, I was like, that's why I'm so unstoppable now, because I'm like, oh, everybody got me messed up.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but I love that you bring up the river because I'm very like a quote person. And there's certain truths that I stick to as a healer. So I don't have those stuck energies within me. It's the practices, it's the being mindful, it's the every day is a new day. And I love the quote that's something along the lines of like, no man ever steps in the same river twice because he's never the same man and it's never the same river.
I love it.
Yes. And
Yes.
so I feel like a lot of people should really sit with that because we're both ever changing. The river
Yes.
is, we are. And so when you're constant, especially if you're someone who really goes to a river often, to
Yeah.
go to that river every day and really understand that it's a different river every day,
Every day.
you know, that's a really deep practice. And it's really just encompassing to the whole human experience of why am I holding on to these feelings when they can just
Yeah.
go and I can be new every day? Why
And
am I
that's why it's
holding
called the
on to
human
yesterday?
experience.
Yeah, why am I holding on
It's an
to
experience.
truly. And I really love that for everyone because when you understand that life is an experience, then you don't need to understand. and that's
Yeah.
really just the mind that wants to understand everything. But I love when people really think that they want to understand. They don't. Their ego wants to understand,
Ego
but
wants to understand.
when you really come to the understanding of, oh, I understand why people do this, that's where compassion comes in.
Yes.
So when you
Compassion.
really come into that space of understanding, you're not even in the space of understanding. Now you're in the space of compassion,
Yeah.
you know?
Because there's,
So
there's,
that,
there's yeah, because maybe one day where they are here is where you were, but you're different, which means that they can be different,
because now
that their path is different.
you truly understand why they do what they do. So that's why I try to tell people, like, you don't want to understand. You're just trying to look for the reasons to justify why you feel the
To
way you feel.
justify. Yeah. And well, I always say this too, where it was like you can't control another person. The only person you can control is yourself. The only person that really is that. So when you're trying to also understand, like a perfect example, why did this person do this to me? I wouldn't do that. When there would have been a time where you might have done something like it, but not like that, but you say you don't understand. But if you really take a moment and pause and be like, oh, well, maybe this happened, or maybe that, or maybe they haven't had the lesson yet that taught them how to remember that that's not actually important, or
Hmm.
that's not actually you know what I mean? And that's part of this journey too, of just of the surrender, of
Yeah,
being like, I don't need to know why, but it did. And it probably actually has nothing to do with me because it's everyone's their
literally that part.
has
That's
nothing to
big.
do with me, so I can have compassion. It doesn't mean that you have to go over there and hug them and be like, please be completely in my life. And so, no, but you can have the compassion and also give yourself the compassion to not try to understand someone else who's not you and their journey because it's going to be completely different than yours.
Literally. That is so good. For real.
Just like, yeah, and this is hard to do. I have to admit, to some people it's hard, especially when you have a pattern. And that's why I think you know things about pattern interruptions. For like, so for you, like you knew, like, for with the meditation thing example, so it's like, I really know how to do this, like I do this, but like I feel like I don't have the tools, and something was presented to you, meditation, right? And this was a way to amplify whatever you're doing. You're like, I'm going to go that way. But when you first started, it was not like it was now. It was not like you just started there. The thoughts are probably like until you were able to get to there. But what you could have done was been like, I don't understand why this isn't working because I know this how it works over here, and given up, and then you would still been stuck back where you were, and you know,
Literally, I
and
feel like I would have went that route in 2010 before I got a hold of the art of war, because like I said, I was born in the shadows, walking in the shadows, doing the alchemy, transmuting, all that. So when I'm doing that and I was really in the darkness, that's where I did identify with depression. I did feel like I was a depressed child, just feeling a lot. And I felt like I couldn't say anything because I was just around the type of people that is just like, you're a kid, what do you
yeah.
gotta be sad about, mad about, this? And I'm like, whole time, I'm feeling all you guys' energies. This ain't mine, I gotta do it. I'm a child.
Yeah.
I feel the
Yeah.
community that I'm in. I feel the adults that I'm around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what
Oh
I
yeah.
was tuned into the whole time. And
Yeah.
so since till 2010, before when I really read The Art of War, that's what really made me just say, like, oh girl, you are different. Like, you can see it, you can feel it, you can hear it, even if people don't hear it. And that's where I just really started trusting. But even in that, my journey of that, um, I feel like I was still walking blindly, only in the sense of, yes, I knew I was living an unconventional life. Yes, I understood and I felt that I was here to do things bigger. But that's the reason why I say walking blindly, because I knew that there was so much more, but I didn't know, like, what is more and what am I headed to and what is everything that I'm feeling. In 2021, when I had to surrender and I had to come back to Fresno and the second part, um, that is when I understood So when I had the whole business and the whole dream and everything crumbled down, and so obviously I'm like, this is not it. So what's next? And so when I
Yeah.
was like, what's next? That's when I understood the interconnectedness. That's when I understood my part in the whole, what I'm here
Mhm.
to do. My
Yeah,
part.
because we're not separate, but there's
Exactly.
parts.
And yeah, and that's where everyone is really like, oh, what is my purpose? What am I? Your presence is your purpose.
Mhm.
Your presence is the impact. Your presence is the inspiration.
And
And
that's why
so,
being present and authentically you is the way.
yeah. And so to me, that is when I understood, oh, I see what I'm here to do. And
Yeah.
going by Inspire, that I was like, all right. Like everything was prepared in
Yeah.
me. Um and so ever since then, that's and really seeing the bigger picture as in my part of the whole, that's when to me, that's why I say I feel like I'm not walking blindly anymore. I feel like I see
Yeah.
everything now because everything is clear as day.
You
It's,
remembered. Like,
yeah.
I mean, truly, like really, and there's, I mean, Edward talking about this is like there's this lens
Mm-hmm.
that we look through. And some people have plant medicine ceremonies. Some people just wake up. Some people sources like it's time, and we'll yank it off. And sometimes it's a little jarring or whatever. But there is a lens that a distorted lens that you look through. And so not everyone's lens is different. Some people's distortion looks a certain way or whatever, but it's all, and that can make you question, that can make you be whatever. But once the lens is lifted, and that comes through surrender, once the lens is lifted, it
Mm-hmm.
becomes so clear. The confusion starts going away. Not the confusion of like, this doesn't make sense because we are still living here on the human experience, but it becomes clearer in your soul. And it becomes this thing that you're able to, like you were saying, it's like, I'm strong now. It's just this thing, but I do understand that there are stages and you went through them and maybe yours were way more awake than others, but you
Oh,
still
wait.
had, yeah, but you still had to do aligned action to get here. Like it wasn't like you just rolled out and they were like, here's the manual, here you go. Like you said, until 2010, you were in the shadow and you like understood that this thing, but then it was like, this isn't right. But then, something else came and showed you. But what it sounds like with you is that you were like, okay, I know there's something different. I have to follow that, even though everything doesn't make sense to do that. And that has led you home to
Literally.
you. I mean, not
Mm-hmm.
Fresno, but I mean, it led you back home. But I mean, in the essence of home of you, led you home to you. And and you are home inside yourself, which means you can be anywhere and be home. Some people don't realize that.
What? And that people, yes. And it's so funny because I'm telling you, so my everything is kind of, it's my mind, right? So everything's kind of normal to me. But
Yeah.
my unconventional way of living has always been so normal to me that, like, when people have kind of just seen the leader in me or just like, oh, can you speak on this, speak on this? I'm like, what do you want me to speak about? Because it was just such the disconnect of like, I can't believe y'all really in the matrix. Like, I can't
Yeah.
believe y'all really caring this much about this and this and this and this. And like,
Yeah. You just didn't understand, but you had the compassion. So you did still talk. You still
yeah,
help.
yeah, and that's where to me it's like because I was just meeting everyone where they were and I understood. And so this is where to me I was just keeping my shadow work to myself because that's what it was. It was integrating, it was alchemy and I understood it. And so to me, I don't speak I only speak of my scars. I don't speak of my wounds. If I'm going through something, I'm going to integrate it first before I speak on it because I'm going to gain the wisdom to share with the people, you know. Um and so that's where a lot of what I went through was very kind of behind the scenes and all that stuff. And so people always just seen my light. I was just
Mhm.
intrigued by it, you know, but they didn't understand where it came from and this and that. But I've been feeling, I've been transmuting, you know, and I've been doing all this stuff. But um even when I was walking blindly and really understanding and grasping the bigger picture, when we hear the just the information of like, oh, you know, we did choose this, we did choose to experience some of this. And at first, when I heard that, I was like, why the fuck would
What
I
the
choose?
fuck? Oh my
Why?
God, same. Why would I choose
Why?
this?
Literally. And so, but even when I started moving through those more, integrating that more, and then I know myself, I know the fire within me. So I know how hard I was going when I was blindly walking in many places. So now that when I aligned here and just understanding everything, and I was like, why wouldn't I choose this? Of course the fuck I
Right.
would.
The one,
Yeah,
yeah.
duh. I'm like,
That's what I'm like.
if
Me
anyone,
too.
it would be me. Of course.
Yeah.
Like, and it's so powerful to even just make
Powerful.
that shift. You know what I mean? But it's so
Uh,
great at the same time. And it's so funny because even when I was walking blindly, like before 2021 and understanding the bigger picture and my whole just my part in the whole, um I really was just living life, you know, trying to be still and do the practices of being present and all that. But in the midst of me surrendering and coming back to Cali, that's actually in 2020, that's when all the information started coming out. Just more people talking about just starseeds, light workers, the Age of Aquarius. As soon as I
mhm.
heard the Age of Aquarius,
Something in you went,
what? Hell fucking yes, I chose this. Yes,
yeah,
I did. And I'm saying that
yeah.
because I'm an Aquarius stellium.
Mm,
So
okay.
so the
Yeah.
Aquarius energy is me. I am the
Yeah.
frequency of the future. I feel that shit. Can
Yes.
foresight many things, but that's where I take it day by day because we're grounded. This is the experience. But when I heard about the Age of Aquarius being back and surrendering to source, saying, okay, I'm going to come back to Fresno. I'm going to do the grid work. I'm going to meet the connections that I'm supposed to meet at this time in alignment. This is where all this energy is me.
Yeah.
Nothing feels uncomfortable to me. Nothing feels like, oh my gosh, this, like, because I see everything unfolding. And
Yeah.
so now that I see everything unfolding, now that I see everyone splitting, now that I see all these tower moments happening for everyone on a personal level, on a collective level, I'm like, we are in historic times.
Historic
We
times.
are in some of the most powerful times.
Yeah.
How can we not be excited? We all wanted change. We all asked for it. Here it is.
We asked for this. But it's like the thing
Literally.
is like, but I didn't mean like that. Well, it's like, that's not our choice.
Yeah.
It's like, our minds cannot comprehend what the ones in the human experience cannot comprehend the vast, massive magicalness that can be.
Literally.
Yeah. And so the fact and I think right now too, especially 2025, of the seeing the things and the separation that you can see of like the timelines and the stuff. And it's like, you know, I really feel like this is the time, and you've got to step up, and your soul knows. Your
Mhm.
soul knows. I mean, like, tap into that. I don't care about your gut or whatever. You tap into that soul. What is it saying? What
Yeah.
is it whispering? Because I was just talking to someone about this where it was like, I do believe that we are souls having a human experience, not humans having a spiritual experience. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
that's what is, so that's where you'll find your home is in there. And some people are like, I don't have a soul. I don't have this stuff. And I was like, you do. It's just you've gotten real good at ignoring it. Just like
Yeah.
your intuition, just like the messages that you receive, just like the things, and which makes sense because it was a very big thing to keep people looping, which makes sense. Us waking up, us remembering that soul, that stuff is very inconvenient to some. Very.
Yeah. But you touched
Yeah.
on that. I really want to remind the people also that this is a planet of polarity. So as much as
Very.
we want to save people, as much as we want to help people, some people are really here for the reminder that that's not the path we want to be on.
Hmm.
And so
Yeah.
I'm just saying that in the sense of a lot of people still move in that, like, oh, I want to help them, I want to save them, especially because we are the teacher, we are the guides, but we're only here to guide who's ready to be
Who's
welcome back
ready to
home.
hear it?
You know exactly who's ready to come back home to self, and who's ready to remember. But some people are really that reminder for us. Don't go
Yeah.
back there, and don't do that.
No.
So,
And don't do that.
and it's not to say it's
Yeah.
bad, it's not, but it's just the polarity. Like we said, we're
Yes.
all one, it's all mirrors, and it's just to understand where we are and what we are doing.
Yes.
Literally.
Yes. With compassion. And I mean, I get it. There's some things it's like it's to be angry. Oh, my parents did this. Oh, this was, I had to go through this. Oh, this was thing. It's like, yes, but, like at the end of the day, it's like, and I think that thing about being the example, the perfect example for this, having the polarities and having the thing of like, when you are true to yourself and you're the example, let's say you want to save everyone. And, when somebody tries to tell you to do something and you don't want to do it. So by being that example, the shining soul light, that can show others that that is a thing, but it doesn't mean that everyone will look at you, will look and pay attention. And that is not your mission.
Yeah.
It is to be you and to wake up and to be that. And that's part, it's funny that you say that about the polarity and the thing, because I had, when I stepped into She Who Activates about the week before that, I felt like I was going to explode. But I've always had this thing with like I wanted to help everyone. I don't want people to be left behind because I was left behind my entire life, bullied within an inch of my life. And I was like, I don't ever want to leave anyone behind. So by stepping into She Who Activates again, like, oh, because Magical V was very, but she was very, She Who Activates as someone kind of like Nspyr. Like it's like this is it, and I'm not for everyone. It's not the thing, but I am for the ones that want to remember. And I have to also remember in that I cannot help everyone. So I
Yeah.
just need to be me and be that example of this person. And it's gonna come with stuff. And then there's gonna be people who I have to just watch go the other way, and
Hmm.
yes, and that breaks my heart, but I cannot let myself not be me because of that. And I think that's
Yeah.
one thing people get scared to do is to they're going to lose something. So it's like, well, then if I actually am that person, but just know that it sometimes you see this where that person will come around a year later and be like, show me.
Yeah.
And that's because you surrendered and didn't try to say,
Early
say.
exposure is bad on the people.
Mhm.
It don't matter what it is. If it's exposed too early, too much. Too much for the people.
Yeah.
And that's all
Yeah.
trauma
And it,
is too much, too fast, too soon. So
yeah.
that's what I'm saying. We can have the best intentions with anything, but you
Yeah.
give it too fast, too soon to someone who's not ready. Are you really having the best interest, or are you being detrimental yourself? Don't do that to the
Yes.
people.
Yeah.
You know?
To the people like, and that's why you say like being in the surrender. And I think that's too about, which is why people don't run businesses that way, where it's like we're taught to um reach out and do that. And it's like, you have to let them come to you. And you can do that by being this person. And even if you're a person who doesn't get online and like talk a lot like you and me, I mean, even putting that energy into what you say as what you write or whatever, it will bring the ones who come. And so then, example with business, then you won't have people who hire you and then tell you you suck because they weren't ready for what you had. They came to
Mhm.
you because of your authenticity and your realism of meeting people where they are and letting it guide you in that way. And I think it's been very hard for me with that, where it was like, because I've had no clients at all, but I just know that my message is for people that really need to, and I was kind of like going to people that I'm like, hey, I have this or whatever. And it was just like, no, I have to just be this. And then if someone wants that, they're like, hell yeah, let's go. And then I'll be like, let's go. And then we're like, and then it's just like
Yeah.
the thing
Well,
of,
that's one of the biggest shifts too. I feel for entrepreneurs and business owners in general. When you make that shift in your personal life, if you haven't already, but to really
yeah,
move from a soulful place and really make yourself happy, because when you really do things for yourself, then it is more of an overflow rather than like, oh,
overflow.
I'm giving this people, or these people need this from me and these people need this from me. And it's a whole different ball game. Being an entrepreneur is spiritual work,
Mm.
because that's where you have to just trust. That's where you understand that you're doing what you love and you're not doing it for money. You're not doing it because we need to pay our bills and this and that. Like all that matrix hustling mentality gotta go. This
Gotta
is
go.
purpose. This is soul level work. This is, I don't
Yeah.
have just services, I have connection. You know what I mean? We are
Yeah.
building things with people, and so it is a whole different world and a whole
Ugh.
different transformation that people have to be patient with and give themselves grace truly.
Grace.
Yeah.
So much grace. I mean, like, grace yourself into oblivion. Like, you've got to hug yourself. I mean, for real, because, and that shift right now, too, because, I mean, even 5 years ago, the hustle worked. It really did. Like, people were in it. I mean, didn't feel good, but it worked. It's not working anymore. None of it. People are seeing through it. People
This
are
is
seeing the
what gets
veil.
me so excited. This is why I'm like, guys, fuck y'all working
What?
hard and working more and all that stuff. And I'm like, dude, it's different times.
Yeah, and
It's
I'm excited because I literally cannot hustle.
because we weren't
And
born for it.
yeah, and it's like, and I'm sitting over here going, I don't have no clients. No one's hiring me. No one's even trying to like
Oh.
message me. And I'm thinking to myself, why? And I was like, and but I'm actually taken care of. Like I've been able to take care of things. So, it's like
That's what's funny. It's
abundance.
funny how we can be well taken care of, how we can be supported, but the stories we're still repeating to ourselves. Why?
Yes,
But it's
yeah,
just the mind.
and it's just the mind. And so to me, I was like, okay, all right. So I get frustrated sometimes and I'm like, no, they're coming. It's coming. It's
Hmm.
coming. All I have to do is, because at the minute that I compromise myself and maybe like put out like an offer that I didn't even like, because I'm like, oh, I really need them. It's just going to, what I'm going to have to unweave from doing that. So
Yeah.
I would rather just wait and surrender, um, and instead of do that and then have to unweave this, I'm gonna say a cord that I have made that I have to uncut anyway because it's not even going to be working in what's happening. And so I've just given myself so much grace in this. Also, I needed to switch to She Who Activates from Magical Bee because people were probably very confused. They're like, girl, what are you selling? Because it does not sound like what you're doing is. So I was like, all right.
Hmm.
So, when I switched over to that and whatever, I'm like, oh, okay. So now probably maybe the energy of She Who Activates makes more sense
More embodying.
to more embodying,
Who
and
you
like
are
that.
today.
And yeah, but you have to do it with a surrender because I never wanted to do it for the money. Like I don't want to do, I mean, I would love some money. Yeah, I would love.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love money? But I think money's gonna die anyway. But that's a different story
No,
for a
truly.
different time. But it is, yeah. But
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's like I don't want I just everything in me feels like it's so on in line to do things for the money that I just can't. I do have prices because I'm like, this is worth my time or whatever.
And that's how
And
I
also,
always felt. That's how I knew. Because it wasn't
yeah.
like the rebel, like I just don't want to and I'm just being defiant. It was
No,
like,
it's just
this
like this
does
to
not feel good inside of me. And that's why I'm
yeah.
like, people cannot say that this is life. Like,
Yeah.
it's
You mean you
crazy.
want me to go to college and work in the back of a restaurant or in a
All
boardroom
my
where everyone's like,
vision.
I mean,
It's so
yeah,
funny. It is so funny that you say that. I'm a big like Aquarius stellium, so I'd love to do research. I love to do all that. So even when I was graduating in 2012 and doing all the research on my own, I'm very into like philosophy. I was into like Buddhism, all that stuff, just the daily practices. Um, I went to college. I went to a city college for 2 years. My major was psychology, and I'm so tuned in. I can recognize patterns so fast. Within that 2 years of psychology, I got all the information I needed. And I was like, oh, they're labeling the fuck out of motherfuckers.
yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
I was like, I gotta get out of here. And I was
Yeah.
like, and I cannot be a psychiatrist if I have to follow a book. I can't do that.
Yeah.
So that's opened my eyes to, girl, this ain't it. And it's funny because when I stepped out of that, I was in my own journey, but that's when I was just building my own business at the time. But even that business was completely, it was just a multi-service business, and I was a third party for many people. But in the midst of building my business, I was practicing somatics. I was studying somatics because of how turned off psychology, really just limited me. So this is
Yeah.
why I'm saying, like, this is a planet of polarity. It's not just about getting things right, it's about getting things wrong. And
Yeah,
so
because
when
how
I
you know? How would you have known?
literally, so that's why even I was so grateful to be in college to choose that for myself, to see like, oh, this ain't it, because that's what led me to somatics, starting from the body, going to the roots.
Yeah.
And not just literally putting a band-aid on things and labeling this and labeling this. No, why the fuck are we humans like this? And why do we feel like this? What is this human experience for real? And so
Yeah.
when I just started getting more into myself, that's when I was like, of course I would choose this. Of course I would choose this.
Yeah.
When 2021 came around, everything that I was finding out, just the whole, I mean, I've been knew I was an Aquarius stellium. There's so much of my houses or my planets are in my first house. So I'm very about
Mhm.
self, figuring out
Yeah,
self,
self.
expressing self, um, all that. And then even I'm like, not my mind blank blank. But before,
Yeah.
since we're talking about all this and even leading to the somatics and how getting things right and getting things wrong and how it's really just all experience. And I love to tell people that failure is really just an opinion. And
Right.
majority of the time it's your opinion. So,
Yeah.
you know, don't do that to yourself for real. But I feel like a
It's
lot of
just a
people.
lesson.
Yeah,
It's a
and I feel like
lesson.
a lot of people will really resonate with the time that I was not in alignment and I was really disconnected from myself. And it's so funny because a person that is so in tune, a person that, eyes wide open. Um, so in the chapter of my business, that was literally the 2017 to 2021. Okay. And so in 2017 to 2021, I was also in a relationship at that time. And that was my business partner as well. In 2018, that was the year that we got our first place together. And then we lived together from 2018 to 2021. In 2018, when we first moved in together, I consciously, and that's even more powerful than a subconscious, like, I'll just go this way. I am consciously making a decision to not listen to my intuition.
Ooh.
I
Yeah.
consciously made a decision to settle,
Yeah.
to see what this was going to get me.
Yeah.
Because I knew what following myself would get me. And even if I went through a lot of deaths and rebirths, hey, an ending is a beginning. I'm always excited for the beginning. But
Yeah.
this is where I decided to literally shut my intuition off for other people's voices. To really, and I'm very, like, I can adapt anywhere. The world is my
Yeah.
home, truly. So even with me being able to adapt anywhere in life, that's what made it so much easier for me to make that decision. Because I was like, we good. Because I really
Yeah.
trusted him. Like he was a in a sense of like a good businessman, you know, he knew how to handle money, like all that stuff. A person I could really trust, like with business at that time, you know. So to me,
Yeah.
that's where I was like, okay, like we're the partners. Here we are working together. And but within building with someone else, I turned my intuition off completely. I didn't listen to when things felt off. I didn't like, you know, I wasn't like, oh, what's this or this and this. I was literally settling, trying to live just displaying what people, the matrix. I would say for those 4 years, I was like, okay, doing what other people say, this and that. I'm not even trying to even go far into depth of how I see things, how I feel things. I'm not allowing myself to go there, truly.
Yeah.
And in
Yeah. Ooh.
and so when I consciously made that decision in 2018, in the time I didn't realize it because I'm in it. But now looking back, I can see how much I took away from myself every year. I was totally a
Mm.
complete person in 2019. I was a complete differently person in 2020, but going backwards,
Yeah.
going into depression. I
Yeah. Like,
haven't had anxiety I like most of my life, I've never had anxiety. Even in high school, I was open and expanded enough to show people compassion with anxiety because I would tell them I couldn't imagine not having that and not being able to control it, you know?
yeah.
And really having the attacks, like your emotions attack you like that. I'm like, can't imagine that. Um, and so when I made that decision, but also in 2017, that's when I really got into a bad car accident and I have the ankle injury that I'm dealing with. But even then, when I was going through that, like, so from my car accident in 2017, that was a part of when I started experiencing anxiety. Like now I just couldn't be in cars, you know, because now I'm nervous as hell
Yeah. Because
and, uh,
it's never so.
and all that stuff. But because I wasn't listening to myself and because I was really suppressing my intuition, all the energetic things I was reading and this and that, I was really, the anxiety was building. I've had panic attacks in those 2017 to 2021, and I never had panic attacks in my life.
Yeah.
I had bad panic attacks. I had anxiety. The anxiety would literally make my head feel like it was swollen. Um, and when I would feel when in those times, that's when like I couldn't believe like how my brain felt, how my mind
Yeah.
felt, how disconnected I felt. And when I felt the consequences of being in disconnection and really going back into that darkness and all that stuff, even that was when I gained the most weight during that time, but it was my body protecting me
Protecting you.
in survival, literally. And everyone was like, "Oh, she's gaining weight, this and that." I am straight in survival. My body is even trying to protect me. And so that's
Mhm.
why in 2021, when it just turned overnight, that was my conscious decision again. That was me waking up to my part in the whole saying, girl, what the fuck was that? Literally.
Yeah. I feel like you had to experience it to
Mhm.
really know now to step into it.
Yeah.
Like I had to experience all that bipolar that thing for me to come out now and be like, look,
To understand and feel what the world is feeling. Literally.
feel what the world is feeling. So
Literally.
that the compassion and the leadership that we are stepping into will be genuine and full of understanding instead of
Mhm.
ruling.
Yeah, and so within those years, I questioned myself the most. I doubted myself the most. I hesitated the most. I didn't bet on myself. I didn't listen to myself. I didn't do what I wanted to do. You know what I mean? And so it was just living for others, for real,
Yeah.
and falling in life and saying, oh, this is what this is. And so that's where all my gifts literally just went silent. And I just felt the
Mhm.
disconnect. I felt alone, truly. Even with me knowing my whole life, I'm not alone. I
Yeah.
felt
It
alone
was
then. And it's a real feeling, you know? And it's crazy how we can really get to that point. And so when I stepped out and I understood and I was like, okay, and I went back into my remembering, I went back into trusting myself. And so all the gifts that diminished for those few years and just went silent on me. Now they're sharper than ever. Now they
Yeah.
come so much more faster, and now they're just clear as day. I don't question it. I don't hesitate. I don't need proof on why. And that's why
Yeah.
it's like, oh, this is it. Let's go.
Let's
And
go.
yeah, truly.
And it's funny because people think sometimes too, it's like I've been in here for so long, has it changed? And it's like it can. It's just that choice to no longer try to do the matrix. Just even though you're like, I don't understand it, you were in it and you were like, this is not the business. And that's what people feel like. And they're like, and that is why getting out, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's like for you, it was like everything just fell apart and you're like, I got to go back to this place. I didn't really want to go back. You know what I mean? Like, but the benefits of it was so big that it's basically worth it to do that. And so, like, anyone even listening to this, just know, even if you were awake and fell asleep, you can
Mhm.
wake back up.
Truly.
And I feel that too. Like, let's say, like, it's like, so you woke up, and it's like, you think about that too, where it's like, you can say that to a person where they're like, man, I used to have this, even when they were kids, like when I was a kid, I used to have this, and then I just, and it, and, yeah, I can even say it's like, and it's like, oh, but I'm back. I'm like, so you woke up. Because I mean,
Mhm.
as a human, we go to sleep every night, right?
Mhm.
So it's like, but you can always wake back up. And I had this reel where I was like, it's like you don't have to go back to real sleep. You can take non-sleep deep rest. There's this thing that's called
No,
the non-sleep deep rest where, your soul can
literally.
non-sleep deep rest. It can rest, but it doesn't have to go back there. So just know that the rest is good too.
Yeah. No, and it's really a lot for people to think about, because I mean, we really are in a dream, and that's how people have to understand it. Just as like being the creator, and understanding that, because that's where there's many, like you said, there's just many forms of dreams, and the people
Yeah.
can think that there's no dreams out here, or their dreams is not important, but that's all the sleepwalkers.
Hmm.
So this is why I'm
Yeah.
saying we all asleep, and we all dreaming in some type of sense, and that
Yeah.
is where to you it is just a reminder of consciously wake up and make
Yeah.
the decision and this and this, but the experience is all, So I just love that reminder, for the people, in the sense of too, like, give yourself grace if you fell back asleep, literally.
Yeah.
All
Yeah. Because
good.
you can always wake back up. Yeah.
A
And
nap is
eventually it gets
fine.
easier. A nap is fine. Like, bro, take a rest. The human experience is intense. It's
No,
intense. No, it really is. Like, what the hell? But yeah, that's why the grace is in there. Because if you're constantly beating yourself up, you're just gonna be miserable anyway. So, like, just the grace and the things, and give yourself okay to get frustrated. Get
yeah.
frustrated too. Like, but don't stay there.
Yeah, because
Don't stay
honestly, I
there.
wonder. That's what I understood. That's a big part of why I'm here and why I'm always where I'm meant to be. But it's really just a sense to bring that perspective. It's to bring the beauty to chaos. It's to bring the order to chaos. It's to bring literally the light into the darkness of where people are. And this is just a reminder of for the people that out of the darkness is born the light. And when we are in that dark place and we realize, oh shit, we're in the dark, we're usually able to make that distinction because we are the light. So when
Hmm.
everything is dark around you, you are the light.
You
And
are the
that
light.
is so important to know, because that is you making that distinction. Oh shit, it's dark around me. Yeah,
Yeah.
that
I'm just
that
gonna
is
turn on the light, which I can control because it's me. I'm
exactly.
the light switch,
And
and I
that's
have
just
the
a
ability to turn
reminder
it
of why
off.
I'm really able to even be like, oh shoot, it is dark in here.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah,
because,
and instead of
you
yeah,
really are just we our light never goes out, you know?
yeah,
It
no,
just dims a little bit, but it's never out.
yeah, and
That's
just you can fuel the fire. You can light it up. You can turn it up to 11.
yeah.
If you really want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. So I want to know, as we wrap this up, I want to know your wisdom. Some people say advice. I don't want to, like, what is your wisdom about to anybody? You've said a lot of wisdom here, but if you had to like have a nugget or something like that to people on this path who, fell asleep like you did, woke up again, on any of that, what would be your advice?
Mm, my main thing for the people, honestly, is I actually have it tatted, which is so funny. Let me show the people. But it actually says think less, feel more.
Mm.
And so, especially the people who are really waking up, who are really remembering, think less, feel more,
Yeah.
feel fully,
Yeah.
and the opposite of depression is expression. So express yourself authentically, unapologetically. Don't feel bad about it. Don't be shamed about it. Don't even be embarrassed, literally. And this is just a reminder that we are the ones that we've been waiting for. And it's so powerful to really know that because many people and many of us know that we are here to break the generational curses, or just the bad things that are still playing out. But just give yourself the grace to feel that rage, feel that anger, to feel like, God damn, I'm that one. It's on me. Like, give yourself the moment to just express that in itself because truly, what the hell? For real. But with
For
that
real.
being said, I really just want to mention that because many of us who are even watching these things, listening to these things, who feel called to be the change, you are really capable, so much more capable than you understand. And this is why you're really here. And this is why you're really the one, because we are the ones to feel it, to speak on it, to remind people. So we cannot hold that resentment and that rage for why didn't they do it? It is our time, and we are really the ancient fucking future, reminding people and waking everyone the fuck up. So I'm just
Motherfucker.
so honored to be here, honestly, while we all rise.
We rise. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. That's exactly what I couldn't have said it better myself. Like that's exactly it. So, whoa, thank you everyone for tuning into this very, very beautiful conversation. Every single one of these podcasts have been
Yeah.
beautiful and all the rest will be. This is all, I am just so grateful. Ah, thank you so much for, joining me today too and being on my podcast.
Likewise.
You
It's so
know,
nice to be here. For real. It's an honor
yeah.
to be here.
Thank you. So
Yeah.
yeah, I will put our stuff in the show notes and you guys can find us if you want to know any more and just reach out because, this is our rising. This is the time. So
Yeah.
I hope I hope everyone has a beautiful now.